Okay, in this session, I am going to tell you how to collect your data and how to prepare your data set. Right? This is your conceptual framework we have already developed. I already told you how to develop this conceptual framework. Here, your independent variables, I have already discussed very clearly. These are your independent variables or the factors affecting, right? So how did you get these? From the critical literature review. So this is your dependent variable or this is your research interest. Okay, right? This is your mediating variable which was also derived through the critical literature review, and this is your moderating variable. Once again, it was taken from the critical literature review. Okay, now you understand how to develop your research model, right? Okay. So for the time being, for the simplicity of the explanation, I have removed the mediating variable and the moderating variable, which will be added and discussed in the coming sessions. So this is the simplified model. Here you have same three independent variables, right? Same variables. Here you have same independent variables. Okay, right. Dependent variable is also same, that is your research interest, right? Okay. Now you have to understand one thing very clearly at this stage. So what are these arrows? Here you have 8 arrows for the hedonic motives, 9 arrows for the utilitarian motives, and 6 arrows for the environmental motives, right? So these are called indicators or the questions to measure that particular variable. So please understand, I have taken 8 questions to measure hedonic motives. To measure this one, okay, to measure this one, I have taken 8 questions, right? To measure this one, I have taken 9 questions to measure this one. To measure this one, I have taken 6 questions. To measure this one, I have taken 3 questions, right? That is very clearly. So please understand. So to measure the hedonic motives, you have used 8 questions. That 8 questions should be taken from one article or from one research or from one author. Please understand, because sometimes you may be mistakenly taken 5 questions from one article, another 3 questions from another article. No, you don't. You can't do like that. You have to take all the 9 questions, all the 8 questions from the one article, right? For example, to measure the hedonic motives, you can get the 8 questions from one article. To measure the utilitarian motives or your second factor, you can collect the questions from another article. That is okay. Better if you can get them from the same article, but if not, no issue. But remember, to measure one construct, you have to get the questions from the same article, from the same construct. So please understand. So this concept applies for all 3 variables, right? 4 variables. And also remember very clearly, when you identify your variables, please make sure that the measuring questions are also there. Otherwise, don't take that variable from that particular article, because you are in a deep trouble if you do not have question to measure the particular variables you already identify. So please be careful about that, right? Later you can't find out the articles, because once you have already developed your model, you can't change it. So when you develop your model, you have to be very careful about the measuring instrument to measure that particular construct, right? Okay, so these 8 questions were taken from this article, was et al. 2003, and from the same article I have got 9 questions to measure this one, and to measure this environmental motives, I have taken 6 questions from this Ryan and Spash 2008 article. Similarly, to measure the purchasing intention, I have taken 3 questions from one article. So please remember that here the key point is to measure one particular construct, you have to get the question from only one article. So that is the key point you have to measure here. Okay, so that's all about. Now you understand there are 26 questions have been used to measure these 4 constructs. Another thing you have to understand, to measure the hedonic motives, you have used 8 questions. To measure the utilitarian motives, you have measured the 9 questions. To measure the environmental motives, you have used 6 questions, while to measure the purchasing intention, you have used 3 questions. This is very unfair. Why? Because you have used different number of questions to measure the particular variables. So you have to take the mean value, right? So remember, we will be taking the mean value in the later stages. You have to take the mean value. That means the total score divided by the number of questions, right? Okay, we will be discussing that in little bit later. Okay, clear, right? Now how to collect your data. So this is preparation of the structure of the questionnaire. I will just run through. So I told you this is a Likert scale. Why? Because unlike temperature, unlike length of a piece of tube or weight, you cannot use the standard scales to measure. So to measure these kind of things, you have to use the Likert scale. Sometimes it is 7 point, sometimes it is 5 point. So in this case, I have used the 7-point Likert scale to measure these 4 variables or 4 constructs. Yeah. The number 1 is strongly disagree. So the number 2 is disagree. Number 3 is slightly disagree. Number 4 is average. Number 5 is slightly agree. Number 6 is agree. Number 7 is strongly agree. Normally, but the other side is also okay, but normally better to take from the lower side to upper side. That means disagree to agree. So if you want to use the 5-point Likert scale, so you can just remove the strong part, then start from the disagree to agree. That's okay. Or strong agree, then you can remove the point slightly. So whatever that, it has to be 7, no 5, right? Okay. So to measure this one, I have used, as I told you, 8 questions to measure the first construct, 9 questions to measure the second construct, 6 questions to measure the third construct, 3 questions to measure the fourth construct. This is a very unfair. I have to take the average because of these indifferent values, indifferent number of questions. For example, so therefore, to HM, I will divide by 8, second one I will divide by 9, and third I will divide by 6, and so forth. Okay, right. So this is my variable sheet. So you can see, so all the variables are there. So this is coming under SPS. So I will be explaining these things in another lesson, not today. So you can understand. So there are 8, H1 to 8, U1 to U9, E1 to E6, P1 to P3. The other question, this question Q1, Q2, Q3, these are just demographical questions to explain the characteristics of the respondents, not directly involved into the inferential statistics, but straight away involved into the descriptive analysis. So that is a very important for the descriptive analysis, these questions Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 up to Q9, and from Q10 to Q40. So the other questions, I think 26 questions are straight away to measure our 4 constructs. So please remember that very carefully. And we have been using 7-point Likert scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. In between there are another 5 options. Right. Now you are asking that questions. This is question number HM1 to measure the HM. The question number 1 So the answer is 6, the respondents number 1. Similarly, 388 respondents have given their answers for this 41 question. 41 means including the mediator and the moderator. If the mediator and the moderator are just removed for the time being, there are only 26 questions, right? Okay. So you can very clearly, you can understand all the values are from 1 to 7, right? 1 to 7. That means here it is very important, as I told you very clearly, very clearly. So from here, right? From here, it is important up to this point, right? Up to this point, it is very important. That means 8 questions to measure HM, 9 questions to measure UM, 6 questions to measure EM, 3 questions to measure PI. After that, you will be taking the average value to be fair all the 4 constructs, right? That's all about the responding values, the options. You can see these are the straightforward I have taken from the SPS data way, right? Okay. Right, now next is the most important transformation, the data into the mean values. Why? I have already told you, to be fair by all 4 constructs, you have to take the mean value. Why? To measure the HM, you used 8 questions. To measure the UM, you used 9 questions. To measure the EM, you use 6 questions. To measure the PI, you use 3 questions. This is very unfair. So therefore, you have to take the mean value. That means score per question. That means you have to divide by all the points by the respective number of questions. That's what now I am going to do. This is very straightforward. So the steps are given here. So we will see how it is done. Right. Let's go to our data set straight away. Right. Okay. It may take some time, but it's very easy, very straightforward. Right. Okay. Right. So here you got the data set. Okay. So this is your variable view. That means you can see from H1 to H8, U1, UM1 to UM9, and EM1 to EM6. So these are mediating variables. To measure the mediating variables, these 8 questions to measure the moderating variables. I am not considering those 2 at this time. So these 3 questions to measure the purchasing intention. Altogether 26 questions. So this is called variable view. I think you must be knowing all these things, or we will discuss in a later session. So this is called data view. So for example, so if you take this one, this is respondent number 1, right? So these scores are for the number 1, right? The responses given by the number 1 for all these 26 questions and 9 or 10 demographic questions. Clear? Similarly, you have taken responses from 380 respondents, right? So that's it. Now we will do the transformation. Why? We want to get the score per question. That means average value, or in other words, mean value, right? How do we do that one? Okay, right, let's go. Transform compute variable, right? This is called computing variable, right? Now as I told you, we want to get the mean value for all 4 constructs. But I am not going to calculate for all 4 questions. I will show how to get the mean value only for the first construct, that is HM mean, right? So please remember how to name this side. You cannot have the space. You cannot have plus or minus mark. You have to keep a hyphen mark in between. No, you cannot have any spaces, right? So what is now you go to your right side, take the mean value, just open the bracket and put all the questions, the question numbers related to the HM. So the first one is HM1, okay, right, plus HM2, okay, right, plus HM3 plus HM4 plus HM5 plus HM6 plus HM7 plus HM8. Okay, now close the bracket. Close the bracket. Now divided by 8. Why? I have taken 8 questions to measure the HM, right? So I didn't do anything. I just got the sum of all the scores of 8 questions and divided by the number of questions. Then next is okay. Now you will get a new variable called HM mean here. So this one is the new one. This is the new one. So this is the new variable we just created. That's why it is at the last row. All other variables have been already formed by me. I just wanted to show you how to compute a mean variable. Okay, now it is very clear. So now when you go to your data view, go to your last column, the newly formed variable should be there. Right? Clear? So this is it. Newly formed variable. Right? Okay? Clear? So this is your newly formed. This is your newly formed variable, right? So it will go up to the 388. So that's it. Similarly, you have to calculate the mean value for all the 4 constructs. For the second one, there were 9 questions. Then you have to sum up all UM1 up to U9 divided by 9. Then you will get the UM mean for UM. Then you will have to get the mean value for the EM, sum up all 6 questions and divided by 6, you will get the mean value for the UM. Finally, PI, there were 3 questions to measure the PI. So, you have to sum up all 3 questions and then divided by 3, then you will get the mean for PI. So that's it. That's all about how to transform the mean value, how to compute the mean value. Okay, right. Now, so that's all about the mean value. Now I will explain once again. So what you have to do is you have to develop your conceptual framework. We already developed it. Then you will have to understand the questions. How many questions you are using to measure those particular variables, and then you will have to prepare your questionnaire, and finally you will have to collect your data, and finally after preparing your SPS data sheet, you will have to get the mean values for the all 4 constructs. Why? You ask different number of questions to measure your 4 constructs. To measure the first construct, you use 8 questions. Then you have to get the mean value. That means you have to divide by 8. To measure the second construct, you use 9 questions. Then you have to divide by 9 the total. The third one should be divided by 6. The fourth and the final one should be divided by the 3 to get the mean value. Okay. So once you get all these mean values, now you are ready for the final analysis. Now you are ready for doing direct analysis, mediating analysis, and the moderating analysis. So in the next session we will be discussing how to do the direct analysis, because now you have already prepared your data set taking the mean value. Okay, thank you very much. I hope that this session will be very useful for you to collect your data and to prepare your data for the final analysis. Okay, thank you very much.